I'm a 16-year-old girl, and my sister Paige is 14. My mom and stepdad have a 7-year-old son, Carson. He's technically my half-brother, but if I'm being honest, I don't really love him like a brother. If anything, he's more like a cousin to me. As a reward for good grades, my dad bought my sister and I some very high-quality and thus very expensive art supplies. I got a set of oil pastels and a sketchbook of pastel paper, and Paige got a watercolor set and a sketchbook of watercolor paper. Normally, my sister and I don't get such expensive things, so we were both really hyped to get to use such nice art supplies. Both of us love art, so of course we started using them a lot, and this included taking them to our mom's house. We accidentally left our supplies on the living room table one night, and when we came downstairs the next morning, we found that Carson had used my oil pastels to scribble all over every page of both sketchbooks. In the process, he'd reduced almost every oil pastel to a nub. He'd also ruined the artworks that my sister and I had already made in the sketchbooks, scribbling over them or messily tearing them out of the sketchbook. We were absolutely devastated. Months' worth of potential artwork down the drain in one night. I wanted to cry out of frustration, and I think Paige actually did cry a little when she saw what Carson had done to one of her paintings. We went to our mom, and I expected her to punish Carson for what he'd done, or at least give him a stern talking to about not using other people's stuff without asking. Instead, she blamed Paige and I for leaving our supplies out and then hung some of Carson's scribbles up on the fridge. It felt like a slap in the face. I wanted to rip that stupid scribble page off the fridge and light it on fire. I was so humiliated and angry. I knew that if I stayed in my mom's house much longer, I'd end up starting a fight, and that never turns out good for anyone. I texted our dad to come pick my sister and I up, because we didn't want to be at mom's house anymore. He came to get us, and my mom tried to stop us from leaving by saying that she'd call the cops on us as runaways and our dad as a kidnapper. She actually screamed this from the doorway as we got into our dad's car. She can't actually do that because the custody agreement says we can travel between households whenever we want. Paige and I told our dad what happened during the drive to his house. Now, my dad is asking that my mom and stepdad pay him back for the 2 sketchbooks and the oil pastels, and in the meantime, he's already bought replacements for us. My mom is refusing. She says that it's not her fault that we left our stuff out where Carson could get to it, and that what my dad is asking for is way too much for a box of crayons and 2 sketchbooks. It's pretty obvious that my mom doesn't want to pay because it's a lot of money, but I also think it's because paying my dad back would be like acknowledging that her little angel boy did something wrong. Anyway, my dad can't force my mom to pay him back, so Paige and I have decided that we're not going back to her house until she pays him. We think that losing us might hurt her enough to bite the bullet and pay, but also, I personally don't want to spend any time with her anymore because she sucks and my stepdad sucks and Carson is a spoiled brat, and going on this little strike of ours has made me realize how much better my dad's place is. Anyway, venting aside, I feel pretty shitty because my dad is getting flack from my mom for what my sister and I are doing, and I can tell that this whole situation is stressing him out. I guess I just came here for someone to tell me I'm not being a bad daughter, but if I'm wrong and should just go back to my mom's place, then I'll accept that too. Now for a few comments before the update. Comment 1, not the jerk. It sucks that your dad is stressed, but I'm glad you have him in your corner. He sounds like a really good dad. Maybe you shouldn't have left your art supplies out, but 7 is generally old enough to know not to destroy someone else's things unless there's a developmental disability, and putting up the golden boy's art was a slap in the face from mom. I wouldn't want to be around her either. Comment 2, not the jerk. Your brother destroying your belongings and your mother celebrating that by hanging his scribbles on the fridge is hurtful behavior. You have every reason to not go back. If you do go back, I would worry that your half-brother's bad behavior will escalate since he's clearly not being punished at all. It's your fault he hit you. You shouldn't have made him angry. Now, for the update. Thanks for all the support and advice on my last post. It's been a wild few days, and I've got to get this off my chest. The first day after the incident, Paige and I were still at Dad's, trying to get our heads around everything. Dad was on the phone a lot, talking to Mom, who was being stubborn as ever. He was trying to keep things civil, but you could tell he was frustrated. Paige was quiet, which is rare for her. She spent most of the day curled up with her new watercolor set, not really painting, just sort of staring at it. The next day, things got more heated. Mom called us, and it was like she was trying to guilt-trip us into coming back. She kept saying how Carson missed us and how we were overreacting. Paige wouldn't even talk to her. I did, though, and I told her straight up that we weren't coming back until she made things right. She hung up on me. Later, Dad sat us down and said he didn't want us caught in the middle of this. He said he'd handle it with Mom and that we should focus on school and our art. But how could we not be in the middle? It was our stuff that got ruined, our feelings that got hurt. That night, Paige broke down. She said she felt guilty for making Dad deal with all this and that maybe we should just let it go. I got mad and told her that wasn't fair to us. We argued, which we never do, and it sucked. I ended up apologizing, but the air was still tense between us. On the third day, things seemed to calm down a bit. Dad said Mom had agreed to talk things out in person, without lawyers or anything. He seemed hopeful, but I wasn't holding my breath. We went to school, and I couldn't focus. I kept thinking about Carson, about Mom, about how everything at home felt so messed up. When I got home, Dad was waiting for us. He said he'd talked to Mom and that she was willing to pay for half of the art supplies. Half. Like that was some kind of compromise. I was so angry I couldn't even speak. Paige, on the other hand, thought we should take the offer. She said it was better than nothing and that maybe it would be a step toward fixing things with Mom. I couldn't believe she was willing to settle. We got into another fight, and this time it was worse. She said I was being stubborn and that I didn't care about anyone's feelings but my own. That hurt. A lot. Dad tried to mediate, but it was no use. Paige and I were both too upset. She ended up locking herself in her room, and I went for a walk to cool off. I felt so alone, like the whole world was against me. When I got back, Dad was on the phone again, this time with Mom. I overheard him saying that he'd cover the rest of the cost, just to end the argument. He sounded so tired. I realized then that this wasn't just about the art supplies anymore. It was about our family, about how broken everything felt. I went to Paige's room and knocked on the door. When she didn't answer, I just sat there in the hallway, feeling helpless. We were both hurting, and I didn't know how to fix it. So here I am, feeling like crap. I don't know if I should give in and let Mom get away with paying only half, or if I should stand my ground. I don't want to fight with Paige anymore, but I also don't want to let Carson think it's okay to ruin our stuff. And I hate that Dad is caught in the middle of this, trying to keep the peace. I'm not sure what to do. I feel like whatever decision I make, someone's going to get hurt. And the worst part is, I still don't feel like going back to Mom's house. I don't know if I can face Carson or if I can look at Mom without getting angry. I'm just so tired of all this drama. Now, for the comments. Comment 1. Hey there, I get why you're upset, but have you tried sitting down with your mom and explaining how important your art is to you? Maybe she doesn't grasp the value of your work. It's always tough navigating blended family dynamics, but communication could be key here. Hope things get better for you. Comment 2. I had a similar situation with my younger cousin wrecking my project. It's rough, but I learned that sometimes you've got to protect your stuff, especially around little kids. Maybe find a safe spot for your supplies next time? Hang in there, and don't be too hard on yourself. Now, for the next story. My ex and I had been together for 2 years and had moved in together for nearly a year at that point. She was a 32-year-old female, so I knew she was really serious about starting a family. I, a 30-year-old male, also wanted a family, but I wasn't in a position to start one as I worked a minimum wage job, $16 per hour, which wasn't enough to pay for an apartment by myself, or really enough to live on. She was in a middle management role and used to be an accountant, so she makes 6 figures. She paid for more of the joint expenses like food and housing, but I contributed what I could. I didn't have any savings even with her help, and before we dated, I was living paycheck to paycheck with 3 roommates. I do have a degree in political science, but I was never able to find a job that required one. I had found a job that paid $24 per hour doing government reception work, but it was a maternity placement, so I only stayed for 6 months. My ex's family really liked me and treated me well, but I'm not sure if they liked me or just liked that I'm a man who could have a child with her. She admitted her parents are super obsessed with her having kids, and while she wants them too, she feels rushed by them. In retrospect, I think she settled for me because we were friends before, and I think she knew I had a crush on her, but didn't say anything. She was in another relationship before me, and I think they were talking about engagement, but he didn't want that or something like that. Anyway, my ex broke up with me a few months ago. She gave the landlord notice that she wouldn't be renewing the lease and gave me 2 months to move, telling me we were over. I was shocked and felt like it came out of nowhere, so I asked her why. She admitted she didn't want to be the sole breadwinner, and she didn't think I was really the homemaker type, so she didn't want to struggle through life doing everything. I do my share of the housework and I can cook. My cooking isn't as good as hers, but I cook 3 nights a week. This is something we didn't really talk about, and I felt like she made the decision for both of us. I told her she never said she felt bothered by my pay, and she knew I didn't make much before we started dating. She admitted she thought she could handle it, but knowing we both rely on her income is stressful, and I'm not career-focused, so she will need to be the breadwinner, and it's not what she wanted. I didn't have a choice, as she said she was already looking into another apartment, and I can't afford this one myself, so we parted and broke up a week ago. I'm back living with my mom temporarily, as I can't find a place in my price range. Her mom called me on Saturday and asked why we broke up, and I probably should have said something like we are incompatible, but I was pretty hurt and felt like I had no one to talk to, so I just told her everything my ex had said. She called me last night to yell at me for telling her mom because her mom demanded she get back together with me to have kids, as she's getting endlessly pestered by her that she's so old and not going to be able to have kids. I just hung up and feel a little bad because I kind of knew the situation, but I felt like if her mom asked, I could answer truthfully. But am I the jerk here? Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. It depends on how you positioned it. If you made yourself to be the victim, yeah, you are the jerk. If you said, I am 30 years old, with a degree I can't seem to use, working minimum wage jobs, and do less than half the housework, and she decided that this wasn't a person to form a life partnership with, then you would be not the jerk. But I am guessing you didn't say that, did you? Comment 2. Not the jerk for telling the truth. But come on. You're not career-focused? What does that even mean? Dude, figure out something, trade school, whatever, and better yourself. A lot of women don't mind if you don't make as much, but they do mind if you don't have any direction or goals in life. Best of luck to you. Now, for the update. Hey everyone, thanks for reading my last post. It's been a week since then, and man, has it been intense. I've had some time to reflect on everything that's happened, and I wanted to share what's been going on. So, after the whole blow-up with my ex's mom, things got a bit quiet. I guess my ex had a serious talk with her parents because they stopped calling me. I'm not sure what was said, but I'm relieved the pressure is off for now. It's given me some space to think about my own future without the constant reminder of what I've lost. I've been staying with my mom, and it's been interesting. We've had our ups and downs in the past, but she's been really supportive through all of this. She's been encouraging me to apply for jobs that align with my degree, even helping me update my resume. It's nice to have someone in my corner, especially now. Work has been the same old. Still at the minimum wage job, but I've been picking up extra shifts where I can. It's not much, but every little bit helps. I've been squirreling away as much money as I can, trying to build up some savings. It's slow going, but I'm determined. I've also been looking for a new place to live. It's tough with my budget, but I've found a couple of potential spots. They're not great, but they're within my price range. I'm trying to stay positive about it. It's a fresh start, right? Now, about my ex. We've had a few awkward run-ins. She came by to pick up some of her stuff that was still at my mom's place. It was civil, but there was this tension in the air you could cut with a knife. We didn't talk much, just a few words about her things. I think we're both still processing, but here's the kicker. She's been reaching out to me. Nothing major, just a few texts asking how I'm doing. I was surprised, to say the least. I've been keeping my responses short and sweet. I'm not sure what she's looking for, but I'm not ready to dive back into anything with her. The most surprising thing, though, has been my own feelings. I thought I'd be a wreck without her, but I'm okay. I mean, it hurts, and I miss what we had, but I'm also feeling this sense of freedom I haven't felt in a long time. It's like I can finally breathe, you know? I've been spending more time with my old friends too. They've been great, inviting me out, keeping me distracted. It's been a reminder that there's a whole world outside of my relationship with my ex. I'm grateful for them. And then there's the job front. I had an interview for a position that's more in line with my degree. It's not a sure thing, but it felt good to put myself out there. The interviewer seemed impressed with my knowledge and experience from the government reception job. Fingers crossed something comes of it. So, that's where I'm at. It's been a tough week, but there have been some glimmers of hope. I'm taking things one day at a time, trying to build a better future for myself. It's not going to be easy, but I'm starting to think that maybe, just maybe, I can make it through this and come out stronger on the other side. Now, for the comments. Comment 1. Been there, friend. My ex's family had this whole life planned out for us before I even knew what I wanted. It's tough when you're seen as a means to an end, especially when it comes to kids. You're not an incubator or a wallet, you're a person. Good on you for standing your ground. Comment 2. Hey, just wondering, have you considered any career development programs that might help boost your income? It's great you're picking up extra shifts, but long-term, you might want more stability. Keep your chin up, and don't let anyone else's expectations dictate your life. You're doing what's best for you, and that's what counts. If you liked this video, you'll probably like these too. Also, while you're here, please consider subscribing. It's your support that keeps this channel alive and allows me to make better and longer videos. Have a great day.